Hello, my name is Constanza Aichele, and with Katalina Barrientos, we're going to talk about Beautiful Disaster by Jamie McGuire.
So, about the book, Beautiful Disaster by Jim McGuire, it's a self-published book that was published in 2011. The book tells the story of Abby Abernathy, a girl who's running from her past, and Travis Maddox in Western University. They will fall in love, but even though they won't be free of problems, gambling games, clandestine fights, toxic behaviors, and mafia problems.
Okay, so the main character is Abby Abernathy. The story is told from her point of view, and she's a girl who's running away from her past, mainly her family, because her dad is a gambler and her mother is an alcoholic. So she travels from Nevada to Pennsylvania to study at Eastern University, and there she meets Travis Maddox.
Yes, Travis Maddox, he's the heartbreaker of Eastern University. He fights in clandestine fights. He drinks a lot of alcohol. He smokes a lot. He fights with the name of Mad Dog, and he's the bad boy that Abby doesn't want in her life because he reminds her of her past. But even though they will end up meeting and they will get along and fall in love.
Okay, so we had a lot of opinions about the book, but we summed them up into three categories. The first one being that these characters are written in a very Mary Sue and Gary Stu way. These are concepts that are very used from book critics to describe characters that are way too perfect or that things in the story happen just to favor them. We also want to highlight that the main female characters have a lot of internalized misogyny. And also, the book portrays a lot of toxic relationship and toxic behaviors.
Yes, for the first one, we have the Mary Sue and Gary Stu concepts. In the first quote, we have a description of Travis in the eyes of Abby, and we can see that she describes him with a full chest and a six pack. The book also describes him like a very clever boy, but we don't see him study that much. Also a very muscular guy, but we also don't see him training.
Yeah, and here we have Abby's description. She's described with caramel hair and gray eyes, and these are characteristics that are very uncommon. And this is very common when creating a Mary Sue character. The author gives them very strange or uncommon characteristics, like gray eyes. That's not very common, just to make them more special or more striking to the reader.
The second point is the internalized misogyny in female characters. Here we have four quotes from Abby, where she refers to some other girls like clueless bimbos, busty blondes, and battle blondes. Also, we have a quote where she jokes with Travis about getting an STD infection because of how many girls he has slept with.
Yeah, and we also highlighted this scene where America calls Megan, which is a previous love interest that Travis had prior to Abby. She calls her a whore in front of her face, and we see no repercussions to this behavior.
Now, the third and last point are the toxic relationships and toxic behavior on the book. In the first quote, we have a scene where Travis punched a guy in the face, and because of that, this guy and Abby fell on the floor. Abby gets really mad at Travis, and we can see jealousy coming from him. In the second one, it says, "It didn't take me long to figure out what was going on. They had been yanking the guys that were dancing with us off the dance floor and threatening them to stay away from us. At a party, The guys that were dancing with America and Abby start to disappear suddenly. Abby finds out that it was Travis and his cousin Chipley that were taking them off the dance floor. We can see possessiveness not only from Travis but from Chipley too. And in the third one, Travis and Abby are talking about a clandestine fight that Travis has to attend, but Abby doesn't want to go because it could be dangerous. But Travis begged her to be there with him.
Okay, and also in one point of the book, when Travis and Abby were a few months into their relationship, he decides to get two tattoos for her. And we think that this is a way of manipulating her, because he puts something that is permanent on his skin. And that is something that can be very possessive to do. And in this scene, the second paragraph, uh, Abby had broken up with Travis, and she went to a party at the fraternity house, and she was dancing with a guy named Brad. And in this part of the book, Travis shows a scene. He was very drunk, and he stands up in a chair, and he gives this very humiliating speech in front of all the people, be just to make sure that everyone knows that Abby belongs to him. And on the last chapter of the book, after all of their fights, they end up getting married. And on the same weekend they get married, Abby decides to get a tattoo that says Mrs. Maddox on her hip bone, because even though they had just gotten married, Travis was not quite sure, was still not sure that Abby was his. So, in order to demonstrate to him that she was his, she decides to get this tattoo. And we think that that is very problematic.
So, our final thoughts are that the book may have negative effects on society because the people might think that the relationships that Travis and Abby had is healthy and normal, which is not. The second thought is that many teenagers grow reading this kind of books, this kind of stories, and they might believe that being possessive and jealous is a synonym for love. And the last thought is that the book promotes hateful and competitive relationships between women. Also, we didn't see any sign of sorority between the girls in the book.
Okay, so
So
that was
that
our
was our
presentation.
presentation.
Thanks a million. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.